Good evening, welcome to another video review from DWC, and tonight I'm going to cover a very special subject. And yes, you're not seeing double, this is two copies of the famed Gemini Aces Spitfire, and this one representing the Mark 9E of the famed Kent Spitfire, or TA805, the Spirit of Kent, which is currently still based at Biggin Hill and owned by Peter Monk. Let's get in there, open it up and have a little look. Apologies, I'm having to overdub this as the microphone failed to work on the further sections of the video, but let's talk a little bit about the box. So the box is the first release Gemini Spitfire. So the later releases come in a much hardened box with like a foam insert. And the earlier ones were very much just a very basic box with almost like, if you had played Yahtzee as a kid, the box inside has the same sort of fabric feel, if that makes any sense. So it's just quite a basic box, not a lot in there, just a solid piece of down undercarriage, and of course the famous Gemini stand, which is not particularly trustworthy. So in this case I'm not going to put it together, I'm just going to put it on its wheels. So it's a very decent release. This is the most sought after Spitfire, I guess, from Gemini, with the exception maybe ML417 or the Desert New Zealand Spitfire as well, which was incredibly hard to find. So yeah, I'm just showing you there. You can open up the front tab to have a little look in it, and of course inside you have obviously the aircraft itself, which is one whole piece with the up undercarriage installed as I try frantically to get it out. Of course a certificate, because it's a limited certificate of only 805 released, obviously representing TA805, and of course a little bit of detail on the certificate about the aircraft and the history of the aircraft. But if you want a little bit further on that, that was just inside the tab that I lifted up, there was a real detailed history of the aircraft, including its squadron history. So there I am taking the certificate out. As you can see, there's not an awful lot in there in this case. So a lot of the Mustangs have numerous parts, different types of fuel tanks. All that's in there for this is a one-piece undercarriage, which I think is really good. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute, how you put that together. But for me, this aircraft is really hard to find. I managed to get 4 in my time. These two plus a further one I kept for my own collection and one I gave to Gary. It's a really hard aircraft to get, and at one point was going for 165 quid on eBay. So here I am, I'm just about to put the undercarriage in. I've already taken the up undercarriage out at this point, which again is one piece, which is nice and easy to put in, but it's held in place by the radiator, which is just under the cowl in there. So here I go, just going to put this on now. And for anybody who's had Spitfires in the past, I mean, some of the early Spitfires by Corgi were a nightmare. You'd blow on them and the actual undercarriage would fall off. So in this case, I'm just slotting the whole slot in now, and the tab literally goes straight in for the radiator to therefore push in. So it makes life nice and easy, and it makes for a really sturdy aircraft. So here she is down on her undercarriage, and I'm sure you all agree it's a fantastic bit of kit. Colours are absolutely spot on this release. For anybody who's seen an earlier release of the Johnny Johnson one, the green on it is a bit garish and a bit over the top and wrong. But overall, it's still a decent looking model. So, of course, it's representing the aircraft that's famous for being in the Spitfire factory at Biggin Hill. And, of course, anybody who's watched some of the Wings monthlies would have seen Alex Monk, Peter's son, on the show, talking about some of the things they're getting up to at Biggin Hill. Really good lad, and of course he cut his teeth on this particular aircraft, and one of the first aircraft he soloed after learning to become obviously a Spitfire pilot. So in terms of the bits on this aircraft, obviously the detailing is really good. If you look at the tail there, the rudder moves and the ailerons on both wings move as well. Obviously you've got to be a bit careful with them, because you don't want to snap them off, because that could cause some issues. And the propeller is full metal, which is in some respects really good, in some respects quite bad, because if you damage it, there's no going back in terms of sticking on a plastic bit. But the detail on it's really nice. There's no movable canopy, unfortunately. Not that really matters. The pilot is inside, and of course there's a nice bit of dihydral there for anybody who's really fussy about the curvature on the wings. But considering this is a late 2000s model, it still holds up incredibly well, especially alongside the new Corgi Spitfire, which is regarded as probably the best on the market, I would imagine. So really a decent aircraft, really resellable. And you know, for me, it's one of the prides of the collection. My one was signed by the pilot Clive Denny on a trip to Biggin Hill Heritage Hangar when I got to sit in this particular aircraft, and always hold a special part of my collection. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this video today. I've got a few more to knock out this week. Please keep an eye on the channel. Of course, I've already put the 360-degree video up of this particular aircraft, which I'll continue doing for each release. But please tune in and carry on watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Formation for the finale of their display.